Hey there everyone, Jeff here. Welcome back to Imagination Tech. So first of all, Happy New Year to all of you. It seems like it's going to be a good 2024. 2023 wasn't so good for me. I kind of laid back on FPV around the middle of the year, but yeah, so I'm really trying to pick things up. There's still a lot of videos in my backlog to edit, and I'm hoping, I'm looking for an editor maybe, but this channel is really just a hobby for me. Yes, I am monetized, but it doesn't really give plenty, probably around $10 to $15 a month, just so you know how much a YouTuber makes, a YouTuber who has 2,000 subscribers. So that's the reality of it. I started this channel really as just a hobby, as just as an outlet for me. And it still is, and I have a day job, and that's where I focus most of my energies on, and as well as on the financial end of things. I also put most of my money into things that will make my life better in the future, like investments, a little bit of insurance, etc., etc. So that's how I want to start this video with, is to address some people who say that getting into a hobby, any hobby actually, is quite expensive. It can be if you're, if you just spend all of your money on that hobby, but I'm going to share you a few tips on how I got started, as well as how I've been continuing ever since. So, a lot of people spend a lot of money on this hobby. I actually spend around $100 max per month on this hobby. So that's a small percentage of what of the money I make. So yeah, because it is just a hobby. In the beginning, it's really going to be expensive since you're just starting out. But once you have your goggles, you have your radio, you have your quad, then pretty much the rest of your money is just spent on upgrades or maintaining your fleet. So $100, $200 is it'll actually get you a long way. So first of all, one of the biggest money pits here in this hobby is getting cheap substandard quality parts. So I've learned this early on when I was purchasing I think those were Omnibus F3 flight controllers off of Banggood, and I don't think these were original. They burned up quite quickly. They burned up on the first flight. I also got some Xing VTXs. I'm not saying that all Xing VTXs are bad, but I've got a lot of broken VTXs when I was starting out. I also tried the AKK VTXs. I forgot what they're called, but it was a small one for the long range. I mean, it was okay, but they also burned up fairly quickly. I think I've burned 2 or 3 of those already, so probably staying away from that. There are cheap motors that perform great, like I think that was the Xing SIC or Xing SIC motors. Those are really good, and I have them on one of my quads. But there were a lot of for every Xing 6, there were also the really cheap ones that also burned out at the first problem. So even at the beginning, you might have to save up a little bit more to build up a good quad. But in the beginning, just spend a little bit more to get better quality parts. So the first tip is to stay away from really cheap parts. I know it can be tempting if you're getting into the hobby on a budget, but save a little bit more, invest in better quality parts. So I would recommend things from Team Black Sheep. Their Crossfire series are really good. Speedy B flight controllers, Diatone flight controllers. I mean, these are relatively cheap parts, but they are very good quality. The second tip is thinking that you need X equipment to make your flying better. Well, that is true at some to some degree. A lot of the OG pilots like Steel, Ummagawd, the Drib, Bot Grinder, Cricket, all of those guys. There's plenty more. They started with really bad gear. We didn't have all of the systems that we have now. We didn't even have OSD when we were starting. I'm not saying I'm as good as them, but yeah, they didn't have OSD, so we were flying, with a timer. There was no such thing as digital back then, so there was no Boxer. We had just the Taranis X9D or Taranis QX7. And which brings me to the point, since 2017, 2018, I've been flying with my QX7, and I've found no reason to upgrade ever since, because, well, I did upgrade the sticks to Hall gimbal sticks, but aside from that, it's still the basic stock QX7. It has a JR module, which I have a Crossfire there, and you can put an ELRS module as well. But otherwise, the radio is still the same. And thinking that you need to upgrade your radio every year when a new radio comes out, you know, that's just wasteful in terms of money. Now, if you have extra, I mean, go ahead. There are nice new features with the new radios, better screens, better whatever. But at the end of the day, your X90 or your QX7 or whatever radio you have will still fly you the same, and it's going to be up to the pilot's skill, you know, to translate that into good flying, regardless of what radio you have. So it's the job of the manufacturer to put out new products every year so that they can make more money. It's not your job to buy every single thing that they come out with. Similar to point number 1 and point number 2 is the thinking that when you build a quad, you already need to put all of the bells and whistles onto that quad, meaning, you know, when people ask, how much budget do I need to get into FPV? And then always some bloke will say, you need $1,000 because you need to buy your DJI goggles, you need to buy your DJI O3 air unit, and all of those nice and fancy things. And there, again, similar to the previous point, there are plenty of OG pilots out there who have flown with much lesser stuff. You do not need a digital system to get into FPV. You do not need a digital system to get good at flying. That said, today we are going to be looking at this unboxing. I'm just going to pour the contents of this all out onto the table. So, this is the new Avatar Goggles X from Walksnail. This is digital FPV goggles, and we are going to be taking a look at all of these today. So, after you've gone through all of your tips that I've mentioned previously, now you've saved up enough money to buy yourself something fancy for 2024, which is exactly what I did. I ordered this November 16th, and they promised to deliver it, you know, before Christmas, but this came shortly after Christmas. I think it was 27th or 28th. So come on, let's take a look at what I got.